Hey everybody, it's Erin from the Impatient Gardener, and I am freaking out. I don't know what happened, but it seems like fall is coming very, very quickly. All of a sudden, the weather seems to be changing, and the long-term forecast suggests we might not have as much warmish weather left as I thought we might. So I feel like there's just a really big amount of things to do in the garden. So today I'm sort of focusing a bit on the vegetable garden. Now I've cleaned up most of it. But I need to get some garlic planted. That could wait a while. Last year I planted it well into November, but it's just one thing that has to get off the list. And one of the reasons I'm doing that today is that if you hear the lawnmower in the background, that is the lawnmower picking up all the leaves, which I'll take you over by the compost bin, but we run out of room in the one compost bin, and I've got finished compost in the other bin. So I need to get the compost that's finished into the vegetable beds. That's where I use most of it, is to top off my vegetable beds. So I need to get that into here so that I can make room in the compost for new stuff to come in. Turns out that my one bed system wasn't enough, and so we made it two, and now it looks like probably three would have been better, but I don't think I have room for that. So that's the first thing we're doing, is moving some compost around, and then we're going to get into the garlic planting bed.
Hello, Ramona. I can't shake the simplest feeling beyond the ghost. We stand on the opposite shore. Hello, Ramona.
So for the past few years, I've been trying to do what is mostly a no-dig method in these raised beds. No-dig means different things to different people, but generally speaking, I try to add compost on the top and then I don't touch it. I don't dig it into the soil. I don't do anything. If you follow Charles Dowding, he's got great books, but he's also got a great YouTube channel. He talks about this extensively. So what I'm going to do here is, instead of making more work for myself and adding what I'll just say is beautiful compost, and then mixing that in and then digging the bulbs in, I'm actually going to just plant the garlic right on top of here, and then I'm going to top this off. I mean, garlic wants to go like 2 inches deep about, so I'll add some compost on top of here. Actually, I might dig down, I might push them down just a touch, because in addition to the compost that I add in here, I am going to add some chopped up leaves on top of here as a mulch afterwards, and I don't want those leaves flopping out all over the place. So, but we're just going to, I'm not going to dig a ton, I'm just going to plan on putting the compost right on top of this. So this year I'm planting twice as much, probably more, garlic than I have in the past. In the past I've done half a bed of garlic. I find that garlic is one of the things that we eat the most of out of the garden, and it stores really well. So, and it tastes so much better than the stuff you find at the store. So I'm like decided I'm just going to dedicate an entire raised bed to garlic this year. And then of course garlic comes out in like mid to late July, so there's plenty of time to use this bed for at least one more crop of something else after that. So I am planting Chesnok red, and then I'm also planting German extra hardy. I really wanted to plant, I thought I ordered it. I really wanted to get some, it's called Muzak bulbs. They were sold out everywhere. I got really late on my order. But I'm also going to plant, I have a gardening friend who told me that she's had great success using this method. So when you let garlic bloom, you get these little bulbettes that come at the top. They're actually edible, but they look like this. So she's actually started planting those, or letting those lay as they fall, and then separating them in early spring when they sprout, just separating them to give them some room. And she said she gets great garlic. So she sent me a whole bag of garlic, and I'm going to try some that way too, because this is a much less expensive option than this. Now, you can save your garlic and just plant the garlic that you grew the year before, but I didn't plant enough garlic, and I figured I'd just buy new garlic, and eat the stuff that we grew. But hopefully this will be a big enough crop that I won't have to buy garlic for a few more years. Give me a kiss. Thank you. Okay. I knew I ordered music. I found it. I have so much garlic around, I've lost track. So this is music spelled like music. I've seen it spelled music too. But anyways, you can see how big these are and how big a bulb. So that's why I was after this one. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to put down some fertilizer. I don't have a specific garlic fertilizer. What I have is some leftover plant tone. I think it's better than nothing. So we'll put that down evenly, and then I'm going to break these apart, and I'm going to plant them. I'm going to share some of this actually with a gardening friend. Okay, it's my mom. Anyway, I'm going to break these apart, and I'll plant these all separately so I can keep track of what is what, more or less. So I'm only going to use these big cloves. See this smaller clove? I'll just take that inside and eat that. I mean, look at the size of that clove. Yeah, there's 4 cloves on this bulb. That's why I like this garlic. Generally speaking, I plant everything closer than the recommendations usually. I tend to think you can get away with that more in raised beds. This soil is really fertile, highly amended, great drainage. Generally speaking, it has everything that plants would want. So I actually do think I did about 4 inches apart. Now I'm going to do this Chesnok red because I don't have any labels out here, so you guys are going to have to help me remember what's where. But I'm going to do this Chesnok red next because it'll be quite obvious what the difference between the music and the Chesnok red is when I. So because I had a hard time finding garlic, I had to buy in some cases not the best size. Look at how small some of these are, especially coming out. We're coming off the music, which is a huge one. But for instance, I'm not going to bother planting this little bulb. Some of these, I'm going to be a little selective here because some like this, there's no way I'm bothering to plant that. So just a quick note on garlic. So there are 2 types of garlic. There's hardneck and softneck. These are all, I grow all hardneck. Hardneck tends to do a little bit better in places where it gets colder. The softneck is the kind that you can braid and things. I've actually never tried to grow softneck garlic. I mean, I think you can. I just think that these hardnecks tend to be a little bit hardier. So that's why I tend to grow the hardneck garlics instead. I would say that most places that sell seed garlic do a really good job explaining which varieties might be best for your area. So just wherever you go to buy your seed garlic, just check in on that and see what they say. Okay, so I actually ran out of room for the little like seed garlic, like the little bulbettes. So I'm going to actually put some of those in another bed. So now I'm just going to cover this up with the compost. So take a look at this compost. I mean, I don't mean to like wax on about compost, but okay, there are a few leaves in there. Look at how beautiful that is. It's light and fluffy. It smells good. Not everything is broken down it. You can see there's some pine needles in it, probably from the pine tree it's underneath. I don't care. That'll be just fine, and that's gonna be so good tonight.
I look for the things I don't know.
Maybe. So we're also going to, we have to clean out the stock tank pond. So I empty this every year. I don't want to worry about, well, I have to clean it out anyway, so why leave it there? And I don't want to worry about any like freeze damage to or anything, because it would definitely freeze. So I've taken the plants out and I use pots to raise them up. So those are in there, super gross, but look at the cesspool in there. It's pretty gross. So I just use this brush and hose to scrub it out, and then once it's all clean, and we have a hose connected to the drain down here. So once it's all clean, we'll just flip it over, and it'll stay in here, but upside down for winter. So I thought I'd just pause to sort of tell you a little bit about why I'm doing things where I'm doing it. So the reason I wanted so many beds in this garden, in addition to having more space, was that I wanted to be able to appropriately rotate my crops. So what I've been doing is just moving everything down a bed every year. But I screwed up this year, because this first bed is where the garlic and onions were this year. So they should go in these beds. But I planted some fall things, including peas and beets that you see in there, in these beds. And over here I've got kale and more beets, which are growing just fine. There's plenty of chickweed in there too. So I don't want to put the garlic in this bed because I'd have to pull those up. So instead, that's why I skipped ahead and then switched sides to put the garlic down there. But hopefully everything else, I'll have to make a few adjustments. Everything else will just move down one bed. That would put the tomatoes in these these first two beds for next year. So what I'm working on now is still emptying that compost bin, and I'm just going to fill these. I don't know that I have enough to fill all the beds, but I think my next thing I'm going to do is top off the 4 flower beds. This is what came out of the stock tank, by the way. I'm going to fill up the 4 cut flower beds first. And then we'll see where we end up from there.
Honestly don't. I should be the last to know. We're all in this. I stand alone. Show me where the ending goes. Honestly don't. I should be the last to know.
So there's just one last thing that I'm going to do in the vegetable garden today. So you see all this parsley behind me? Parsley's super hardy, so we've had several frosts, but it's just fine. So what I'm going to do is, but it's going to get colder, so it's time to get it in. I'm going to cut what's left there. And here, let me just show you. So I'm just going to cut what's left here, and then I'm going to strip the leaves off the stems and wash everything really well, and then dry it really well. And then I just take the leaves and put them in a Ziploc bag, pile them up in the bottom of a gallon-sized Ziploc bag, and then I roll the bag to make sure to get all the air out. And you create sort of a log, and then I just stick that in the freezer. And then when you want to use it, you just go in there and you just open up the bag and you just cut off with a knife the amount of parsley that you want. Now you can't obviously use it fresh. It doesn't work after you freeze it for that. But it is really good for anything you're cooking in a sauce or a soup or a stew or anything like that, and you still get that really fresh parsley taste. Now you can also chop up parsley and freeze it in ice cube trays, or you can mix in some oil with it, or you can make a parsley pesto. There's all sorts of things to do, but I find that I use it most when I just am able to just cut off this log, and it's such an easy way to, it's the easiest way to preserve something ever. It's literally washing it and throwing it in a bag. So, and I do that with basil as well. As long as you get that air out of the Ziploc bag, it should freeze and maintain that color. It won't go icky brown or anything, and it is a delicious flavor in anything that you're cooking. Alright, so that is it for vegetable garden stuff. I have to finish cleaning out the stock tank pond. When that's done, we'll flip that over, and then we're going to come in here. We've been sort of letting the leaves pile up a little bit, but obviously it's important that we get those out of here, because I don't want the gravel to start. I don't want compost on the gravel, basically, which is what will happen. So we'll get that done. I will finish up emptying out that compost bin so that we can fill it up again. And then there's all that's left to do after that is just enjoy the beets and the kale, and that's pretty much it in the vegetable garden this year, except for one other thing that involves some bulbs, and we'll be back here to do that. But other than that, as far as actual vegetable growing goes, that's pretty much a wrap for this year. Okay, so I just wanted to bring you along for a little bit of sort of year-end work in here so you can see how I put everything to bed, how I get that garlic planted, and pretty soon it'll just be time to just let everything, including the gardener, have a rest. So I hope you're having a good day in your garden. I hope you're doing well on your fall gardening chores, and we will all enjoy a little bit of a break in winter when it comes. All right, see you soon.
Hello to Mona, I mistook you for a dream. The engine glows, and I guess you always seem to know.